Yes! 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 Oh my god! That's my fucking guy! So obviously, after some adult beverages, I was pretty excited last night when Joe Hendry won the TNA World title. And I thought that it was finally time to make a video about it. Originally, I had actually made this channel the week of Slammiversary when I thought Joe was going to win the TNA title in the six-way match, and then they screwed him over. And originally, the first video on this channel was going to be a 10-minute rant from a slightly intoxicated me about why it was a bad idea. I decided not to do that because I didn't want the first video on this channel to be negative. Then Bound for Glory happened, and I was sure he was going to win there, and then he didn't. And I was getting ready to make this video when he won at Bound for Glory, and then he didn't. But it felt like it was finally time to make the video about why I am such a big Joe Hendry fan. Or, at the very least, my story with Joe Hendry, and how I've been a fan of him for so long, and why that title win, even though I was absolutely gone last night, why it meant so much to me, and why at the end of that stream I did break down into tears a little bit. I first discovered Joe Hendry on the first episode of WCPW Loaded in 2016. That was really the first time I'd ever watched any wrestling outside of WWE. I got into wrestling when I was 14, which was in 2014. The easiest way to know my age is to look at the last two numbers on the year. And so I became a fan of him from that first episode where he wrestled Big Damo. And it was rough being a Hendry fan early on in WCPW because he was just a job guy for them early on. He lost to Damo, he lost to Rampage, he teamed up with Joseph Connors, and they lost all the time. And, like, Adam Blumpier, who was in charge of creative, went on record a couple years ago on a Wrestle Talk podcast. He was like, yeah, I was more focused on the guys who were good in the ring and not the character guys like Joe. And then, you know, finally, the minute he got out of creative, they put the title on Joe and actually started to focus on him more. And it was, you know, it's weird to look back on, actually, because they did the Drew Galloway stuff where they teased Joe winning the title over and over only to just not do it and then turn him heel instead of striking while the iron was hot. And instead they had him win the title as a heel. But, you know, that's 8 years ago now, 9 years ago, starting this year, which is crazy. And so I was a Joe fan throughout that time. So I got excited when he went to Impact for a few months in 2018 while they were doing all the Canada stuff. And I watched that on their YouTube channel. And then he made his way to Ring of Honor. And I admit, I wasn't the most tuned in to what he was doing in Ring of Honor. And then 2020 came, and Ring of Honor was going to go on tour, and Joe was going to be with them. And I thought, well, if they come to Atlanta, maybe I'll get to go see him. And then 2020 happened, and they didn't go anywhere. And then Ring of Honor almost closed its doors, and then Tony Khan bought it, and that's a can of worms for another day. I don't feel like talking about the Tony Khan Ring of Honor ever. And Joe was just kind of back on the indies again. And he was doing his own thing. I followed what little bit of him I could from stuff that was online. And then that fateful day in 2022, the Say His Name vignettes started airing for TNA, or Impact at the time. And I was watching Impact semi-regularly at this point anyway. And I was like, oh, my favorite indie guy is coming to Impact. Now I have a reason to start watching. Watched Bound for Glory, where he was in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, and he got pretty far in it. And then he won the digital media title, which was awesome. And lo and behold, he wins that in November. They're coming to Atlanta in January. He's in a feud with Moose. He's going to be on Hard to Kill. I was a substitute teacher at the time. I'm actually still a substitute teacher now, but there's been like 3 jobs since the last time I was a sub. And I thought, well, I can afford to go to one night of this. I couldn't afford the $50 for both nights. I could afford $25 for one night. And so I was like, I'll buy the ticket to the night of the pay-per-view. I'll go see Joe. I'll take a sign that just says how long I've waited to see him. And that'll be cool. And I'll show you guys here. I sent him a picture. Actually, wait, there is one more wrinkle to the story I forgot to bring up. In 2020, during the pandemic, Joe Hendry was doing a bit on Twitter where the I Believe in Joe Hendry shirts first came out. The golden ones that said, you know, the prestigious ones still from Ring of Honor. And he was like the first, I think it was like 100, not even 100, it was like The first 50 people that buy one of these shirts and send me a picture of them wearing it, I will write them a little song. I'll do them a little 30-second song. And I was one of the first, and I actually had to go back on the cesspool that is Twitter and find it. But here is my Joe Hendry song that I got. And I have this saved somewhere on my phone too. But here we go.
I live outside now. I saw it on Red Dead Redemption. I'm trying to hide out. Just a few more t-shirts sold and I can go home. But thank you, Xandermania. Your name reminds me of Peter Andre's song called Insania. It's not the worst in the world, but objectively worse than Mysterious Girl. Buy my shirts.
But yeah, there you go. That was the little song I got from him, which was really cool. I really liked that one a lot. And in my opinion, that was one of his better ones, not just because it was about me, but that was one of the better ones he got, because a lot of the little jingles he would do for people would feel a little not half-hearted, but like they were lacking a little bit of personality. And so finally January 2023 comes, and it's January 13th. I have to go work that morning. So I'm in Georgia. I live in Georgia, and at the time I was working in an area called Rockmart, for those that know where that's at. Um, and that was about 45 minutes to an hour away from Atlanta. So I was not going to have time after work, because I got off work at 3:30. The show started, doors opened at 6. There wasn't going to be much point in driving 30 minutes away from Atlanta back to my house at the time, because I lived in North Georgia at the time. I won't say where, because I still have family in that area. And so I just put out a random little tweet, and I said it was this. I had my backpack on and stuff, and it was this, and it was, and it said, when you have to substitute teach in the morning, but you have to go believe in Joe Hendry in the evening. And this was my fit. And after school, I got to Atlanta, and I went to the Target in Atlanta. And for my collector friends, I actually found 2 Sonic the Hedgehog figures I was looking for then, which is pretty cool, big and chaos. And I bought a poster board and a pack of Crayola markers. And it's a pretty shittily made sign. If I'd had more time, I would have made it sooner. And it just says, I've waited 2,391 days to see Joe Hendry. And that was the sign. That was the best I could do at the time, was this. And it was cool, though. And a guy, during Joe's match with Moose, a guy named Ross walks by. He actually appears on TNA as an extra sometimes. He was a doctor at one point. You'll see him just talking to people in the background of scenes sometimes. Bald guy, usually wearing like a suit. He's super nice guy, super nice guy. He walks by during Joe's entrance. Like I'm filming Joe's entrance as well, is the funny part. Let me see if I've got a picture. Okay, this is the only picture I have from the Joe and Moose match, is right after Joe won from Santino showing up. And that was Santino's TNA debut. But Ross pulls me aside during the match. He's like, hey, why'd you wait so long to see Joe? And I said, oh, well, he's from Scotland. You know, he wrestles mainly in the UK. This is the first time he's been in the US in my area since I started watching him. He said, oh, cool. And TNA, one really cool thing about them is they do meet and greets before and after the show. That's how I got this picture here of me and Matt Cardona, who was also super nice when I met him. Actually, he responded to me when I posted this photo. I was like, if you told 14-year-old me that 23-year-old me was going to meet his idol, he would not have believed you. And Matt responded, he was like, it's so nice to meet you tonight, bro. Ross was like, do you have a ticket to come back tomorrow? I said, unfortunately, I couldn't afford it. I don't make much. I just wanted to come see Joe wrestle tonight. He was like, well, you know Joe's doing a meet and greet tomorrow. I said, yeah, I wish I could come, but I don't have the money to come back. And he said, all right. Hands me his phone. He says, here, put your number in my phone. I'll send you a text. Text me your name and how many tickets you need for tomorrow. Meet and greets on me. I'm like, are you serious? He says, yeah, of course. I'm like, that's so cool. Thank you. He sends me a text, says, this is Ross with Impact. I said, this is Xander. Full name Xander Carver, because my last name was just still Carver at the time before Alex and I merged our last names. I was like, Xander Carver, all I need is 1 ticket. Thank you so much, sir. The next day I get a text, be here by 6 o'clock, bring the sign, ticket is at will call, bring your ID. I'm like, okay, cool. I get there, and I'm just expecting that, like, I'm going to get in the meet and greet line after the show, because Joe was advertised for after the show. And it was going to be like, get in the meet and greet line, tell them your name will be on a list. Well, I get there, and down at ringside, all of the champions are doing a photo shoot with the people who had like the VIP tickets. And so you've got world champion Josh Alexander, Knockouts champion Mickey James, X Division champion Trey Miguel, tag champions Motor City Machine Guns, Knockouts tag champions the Death Dolls, and digital media champion Joe Hendry. So everyone's getting their pictures. Ross is down there taking the pictures with everybody. And I'm saying Ross's name a lot here because he is awesome. He's been so nice to me every time I've seen him, even if he doesn't remember me when I go to the shows. He's just always so nice to everybody. I want to say community outreach is his official job title with TNA. Just super nice guy. Super nice. Like, they made the right choice hiring that guy for the role. Two guys in front of me. One of them was named Josh. I don't remember the other one's name. They were who I would hang out with when I went to these shows, though. I never thought to actually, like, friend them on Facebook or anything, though I should have. But they point at Joe, and they're like, Joe! Joe! Trying to get Joe's attention. And they point at me, and I'm still wearing the I Believe in Joe Hendry shirt. I went home, washed it that night to wear it the next day. And Joe points up at me, does, like, his smile and his point. And Ross just points at me, he's like, bring the sign. I come down. And Ross is like, Joe, hold on a minute. All the other champions have been dismissed at this point. He's like, Joe, this is Xander. He was who I was telling you about. And so this picture happens. And Joe is like, hey, he's like, thank you so much for supporting me for so long. How long ago was that? I said, that's the first WCPW episode. He's like, oh, you've been watching for a long time. I can't do a great Scottish accent. And he's like, he pauses. He looks at like my beard and stuff. And he looks at me and goes, you're the substitute teacher. I'm like, I am the substitute teacher. I'm like, you also did a song when I wrote this shirt. He's like, yeah, I probably did. I did a lot of those. So I was like, yeah, I don't blame you for not remembering. But like, that's awesome. And that was really cool. And I got to share this story on my Instagram and my Twitter, and it got a lot of likes. And it was really cool. So that's a big part of it. And the fact he was so nice to me on that day when he didn't have to be. He was not making any money from meeting me. He was not making any money from meeting me, was Joe. Like, you know, normally you got to pay for the meet and greets. But Joe made no money off of this, but he was just such a nice guy to me. Like, gave me a handshake, patted me on the back, thanked me for being a fan. And later that night was the debut of the Edge's Bitch song for Matt Cardona. And they don't show me on screen when it happens, but you can hear me yell, yes! When Joe says that he's got a music video to debut, and he points up at me at one point because I've got the sign and the shirt. And so TNA is coming back. They're still Impact at this point, but I keep calling them TNA because that's what they are to me. Impact's coming back to Atlanta June 2023, and Ray and I are going to go this time. Ray's going to go night 2. I'm going both nights. And so I go night 1, and I buy the new I Believe in Joe Hendry shirt. I don't wear it often because white is not a good color on me. It makes me look fatter than I already am. But I decided that I wanted to take something for Joe. He was doing a meet and greet, and I wanted to give him something special. So I'm a bit of an artist, if you didn't know. And so I made this. It was just, since the start, I've always believed in Joe Hendry, and it had the answer, the local hero, the prestigious one, and the say his name. His 4 big gimmicks he's done. Obviously, some of them less memorable than others, but I obviously say his name is what's made him as over as he is, but I enjoyed the prestige. I have always loved the local hero, and I even thought there was some fun with the answer. I thought the answer had some, that's the wrong one, Xander. I thought the answer had some fun moments in there as well. I thought the Negan entrance was just the right amount of insane. And so not only did I get to see Joe Hendry again, I got to see the debut of the Stripper Kenny video for Kenny King. I bought the new shirt. Next night, Ray and I go back, and I give Joe the picture, and he remembers me. He's like, yeah, I remember. He's like, I remember you. You were the substitute teacher. I was like, yeah. And he was like, what's your name again? I said, I'm Xander. And Impact guys, TNA guys, don't normally personalize the autographs. They just sign their name, hand you the photo. They get their money. You're good. They're good to go. Well, my photo, you can see it, sort of see it there from Joe. Let me see if I turn my light off here with my... Let me dig through the mountain of cans over here. I need to clean up in here. Last night, Xander was having a good time. I think as chat put it, they used the word lit, or did they say turn? I can't remember. I don't need to use younger generation phrases, though, because they make me sound old. Okay, I can't find my remote for the lights, and I don't want to get up, so... But Joe signs it to Xander. It's really cool. You can see it in the background sometimes. And so he actually has me and him take a picture on his phone together of me holding the drawing I did. And then the 3 of us, me, him, and Ray, take this picture together. And it was really cool just to get to meet Joe again. And so that's a big part of why he's meant so much to me, is like this guy was nice to me and there was no gain for him out of it. There was no monetary gain for him out of it to be so nice to me and to be just so kind to me. And it meant a lot. And so to see a guy that I have supported for so long, to see a guy I've supported for so long go so far and become the most over guy in wrestling just really meant something to me, because I've been supporting this guy for so long, and to see all of his hard work finally pay off meant a lot to me. And this is where the trigger warning comes in here. This is a trigger warning for anyone that's sensitive about death or self-harm or anything. I don't open up about this much. But people who have been watching me for a couple of years at this point know that there was a running joke that I moved every year, and that's, kind of been how my life's always been since I was a kid. And I remember back in 2023, for those that don't remember, in May of 2023, I moved. It was the month before I would have met Joe again. I moved to another state, to another city for another job. And I had just graduated college, and I got in a car wreck the day before I was supposed to move, and it totaled my car, but I was still it totaled my car after I took it to the repair shop at least, and at that point, I was in a pretty bad place anyway because I didn't really want to move, but I was kind of put in a position where I felt like I needed to. And I worked my first day at that job, and I was just like, is this gonna be my life now? And because I hated it. That job was terrible. It was not for me at all. It was not the kind of job I should have been at all. And so I worked at this job for a day, and that night I had several panic attacks that paralyzed me. I was on my own. Alex was still in our old house, and I got like paralyzed from panic attacks. And the next morning felt like I had two options. I pretty much told myself while I was sitting in the bathroom of that new job, sitting on the floor having another panic attack, I said to myself, I'm either going to leave this job and go home, or I'm not going to leave this town today. And I won't go into further detail on what almost happened, but obviously I'm still here. And I came back home at that point, and I was in a very dark place for a couple of months. I was inconsolable for a while, and I only drink one can or one bottle at all at any time. When I have a drink when friends are over or I'm at a social event or something, I have my one and I'm done. I only indulge to the point of being, where I was last night when it's more fun, I guess. I don't know. Last night I did it just because I kind of associate it with when I do big TNA watch-alongs. I've done it for every Bound for Glory, I've done it for every Slammiversary, and last night I joked that I was going to get, wasted and then crash out if they didn't give Joe the belt again. And when I came back, the reason I say all this about drinking is I turned to the bottle when I got back. It was my escape. I didn't have a job. I was miserable. And I had just considered doing something terrible to myself. And this was my life for about 6 weeks. And finally, I did snap out of it when I realized what I had just said to someone I really cared about while under the influence. But I had to find an escape to distract myself in the evenings. And so what I started doing was watching TNA on Thursdays. Like, religiously watching it on Thursdays. Every Thursday, 8 o'clock, sat on my couch, watched it. Didn't make any content out of it, just watched it. And then during the days, while I was looking for a job, I would watch old matches. And a big part of that was Joe Hendry. I would watch his old music videos. I went on WWE Network or Peacock, and I would watch old ICW footage where he was having matches. And I would watch old WCPW with him in it. And that helped me stay away from the demons in the bottle. And so that is why Joe's title win meant so much to me. And I'm sorry that this is a very heavy topic to talk about on YouTube, and that's why I gave the trigger warning at the start of the conversation here, but Joe has always been important to me because he was my gateway into independent wrestling. But not just that, he was the distraction I needed to beat my demons a couple of years ago. And so it just means a lot to me to see all the success he is getting, and yeah. So if you've ever wondered why I like him so much, why he's so, important to my channels, and why he does get so heavily featured in the LS11 universe, it's because I credit him with being the distraction, I suppose, that I needed when the going got most tough for me. So yeah, I mean, that's 21 minutes. That's about 15 more minutes than I thought this video was going to be. But to those that, stuck around and listened to this, thank you. And just know that if you ever feel alone out there, or ever feel like the world is dark and there's no one that cares about you, there are people, and there are healthier ways to get past your troubles, because I've done it, and I believe in a lot of things. And if there's someone out there that needs to hear this today, so I'm going to say it. Not only do I believe in Joe Hendry, do I believe in myself for getting over it, I believe in you. I believe that you can get through whatever you're going through. Because you're strong and you're important. Okay? Cool. To those that are going to tune into the Raw Watch Along tonight, I will be sober, I promise, and you can make as much fun of me for last night as you want. My wife was cackling all night about how bad it was dealing with me. Apparently I was saying awesome a lot. And I'll leave you on that funny note of a direct quote from me. Here, I will read you verbatim some of the things I sent to my wife last night. And this just to make you guys laugh a little bit here, because every Sunday we'll alternate who feeds the cat and who does a full litter change. And I said, hey, I'm gonna hay to Rain Cecil to litter boxes till tomorrow morning tea. I'm Kashakin, all caps, gone. She says, hey, want to try and type that again? All caps, drunk. Laughing emoji. All caps, 4 cans. She says, no. Me, send help. Her, the full sentence, lol. Me, all caps. Hiccups. These are each 1 text at a time. Litter. Tomorrow. Drink. Drunk. Hangover. Gnex and then this gif from How I Met Your Mother. The legend, and I hope you're not lactose intolerant, because the second word of the sentence is dairy. She says, poor puppy. And then she came up here and scared the shit out of me on stream. I sent her a text later in the night. I made it into bed, but you're so fucking awesome. I hope I tell you that enough. She says, yeah, when we say that, other than the alcohol, I said, because you fucking married me. That's so fucking cool. Whoa with a G at the end of it. And it got worse. I said, you're so... Nobody's would've. I sleep now. Should sell all. Sleep smixk. Thick. Fuck. Auto 70. Autocorrect and suck my cooked into... She says, if you'll give me a minute, I'll be up to the bedroom. I said, that's so fucking rad. And then she says, how so? I said, Bivax, I love SYU. And so that is the entertainment I leave you on there. God love her. My wife's the most tolerant person in the world. All right. I'll see you guys next time. And it'll be a lot more lighthearted, I promise.